Alright, let's talk about the new work order system in Dwarf Fortress. So I'll bring up the work order. Alright, so this looks somewhat similar to what it did before, but you have some more options. You have conditions and details. So, alright, let's just make an order as an example. Let's make an order for beds. So construct bed. So you notice here that on the quantity you can put in 0 for perpetual, and so that means that order will just go on forever until you remove it. So let's make an order for 10 beds. So notice that you can change the details here. This is something you could do from the workshop, but now you can do it in the order on the work order screen. So if I hit D, I can pick the particular material I want. So if I want cedar beds, I can make them cedar beds. So now let's look at conditions. So right now this is just a one-time order. It's just going to do it. Nothing special. But we can also set an order to repeat. So we can have it restart if completed, check daily, monthly, seasonally, yearly. So let's make a repeating order. So here we can add item conditions. So this will give you like a generic item condition, and you can change it with change item type I. So you can change it to beds. So if the amount of beds is at least 0, then make 10 beds. So this will always be in play. So we can change the inequality to different numbers, is not, is least, at most, and so on. So let's try it with less than. So I can press N for change number. So if the amount of beds is less than 5, then it will create 10 beds. And then it's going to check this daily. And whenever this condition is met, it will put out this order. And then that order will go until it completes, and then it will start checking again. So that's using the change item type. But you can also use R and P for adding conditions from materials or adding conditions from products. So let's try that. So I'm going to hit D to delete this condition. Now let's do it from materials. I just hit R. So since I set it to make cedar beds, it knows, even though it's not showing it here, it knows that it needs cedar logs. So it checks if there are at least 10 cedar logs as one of the conditions. So we can also add a condition from products, P. And so this will automatically happen. So again, this order is set to make cedar beds. So if the amount of cedar beds is at most 10, we can change this. Less than 10, or we can make it less than 5. So if there are less than 5 cedar beds and there are 10 cedar logs available, this order will happen. And so you can use change traits and change item type to make things more specific. But I'll admit I'm not knowledgeable of how to manage all this stuff. But I will give an example where I use that. So here is my order for rock pots. So I have this order to make empty large rock pots. Actually, I'm going to remake it. So rock pot fire. Okay, so this is just going to make rock pots, but I can add conditions with C. And also I can change the details if I want a particular kind of rock pot. If I want it to be gabbro or gneiss or cobaltite. So let's just make any kind of rock pot. C for conditions. So I'll use plus to make this a repeating task. And so I will use add conditions from products here, P. So here it's checking for large rock pots. But I need to change something here because I want these to be empty rock pots. So I want it to make rock pots when the amount of available empty rock pots is less than 10. So let's go to change traits, and I can go down to empty, and this is not with the number pad. So empty. And so you can add different conditions on these, but I'm not sure how all of these interact. But in this case, we're looking for empty rock pots. So if the amount of empty rock pots is less than 10, this will happen. So one thing to watch out for is that if you make a zero order or a perpetual order and give it a condition. So if I add a condition here, products, alright, if the amount of beds is at most 10, make beds forever. So what this will do is it doesn't really matter what this is set to if it's infinite. It just tells you how long it will wait to check. If you set a perpetual order, once the conditions are met once, it will just start and not stop. So you need to give it an actual number so that it will stop. Alright, let's delete this. Alright, so to give another example of how these conditions can be used to automate things, let's look at making charcoal. So let's have an order to make 20 charcoal. So you can do it the normal way, and it'll queue up 20 charcoal. But we can also do conditions. So we can do conditions from materials to add automatically, or conditions from products to add automatically. So R, so these are materials, and then P, this is the product. So this will automatically set up a lot of things for you. But I can change these numbers, of course. So I can use n here. Let's say I want to make charcoal when my amount of charcoal is, let's say Q, let's change this. When the amount of refined coal is less than 30 and the amount of logs, let's make this n. Let's say we need at least 22 logs. So if the amount of logs is at least 22 and the amount of refined coal is less than 30, this order will be placed and it's going to check this daily. You can also change this to monthly or seasonally, yearly, so on. And so if you have this on, as long as you keep logs available, this will just keep going. And it's not going to run you out of logs all at once. It's going to be a slow grind, so it's a little easier to control than just having a perpetual order on or a repeating order on. So okay, so we can also have orders depend on other orders. So I'll give you an example. Making instruments. So I have an instrument in my world called a ging. And so this has 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. So let's say I want to make 1 ging or 2 gings. So keyboard, make 2. Ging. Console, make 2. Pipes, 2. Pump, 2. And assemble, so 2 orders to assemble. So if you just do it like this, it's going to try to execute all of these, and it's not going to have the parts it needs to assemble. And so you can also go in if you want to make nice instruments with different materials. So let's make this silver, and the console you can choose what kind of bone you want. Beak dog, sure. Pipes, I think that's just glass. Pump, probably leather. So you can't change that there. So these will just happen, but I want the assemble ging to wait for these to finish first. And I can do that with the conditions. And these are all one-time orders. You could have this for a repeating order as well if you want to mass produce instruments or make 5 instruments every season. So we add order condition with O. And so this has all my orders on it. So I'm going to add all the other ging orders. So what this does is it checks to make sure that these orders are all complete before it tries to do the assemble ging order. So you could use this to make a chain of orders for certain things like producing paper, with plants and stuff like that. So that's an example. So I hope this was useful. I know there's not a lot of information about this out right now, and I hope that, so thanks for watching.